elected to not go to the State of the Union but are not here tonight. However, what's very interesting is what you're hearing the Democrats talk about here. They're talking about a lot of the policies that are not popular in the Trump administration, and that includes immigration, that includes the delay in releasing some of the Epstein files. What you're also going to hear is a lot of talk about affordability. And it's not a coincidence that a lot of these topics are going to be the topics that are discussed in the midterm elections. In a way, this is kind of the opening argument for Democrats in the midterm election, and we can kind of get a preview of what we're going to be seeing. So that's what's happening out here. We know that Trump will also be making his first argument. So I'll head back to you, Harold.
Okay, thanks very much, Harry. Quite a noisy scene there. Members of the president's cabinet entering the chamber. There's the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. You can see the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, there. A number of other cabinet secretaries as well. Somewhere along the way, there's the EPA administrator. Somewhere along the line, we'll hear who the designated survivor is, since in the event of a disaster, the line of succession would go to a person who is being held in a secure location off-site. Let's go to Josh Robin. He's our anchor and chief national political reporter. What are you going to be looking to hear from the president tonight? Well, there's a lot there, and top of them is, and you see the shot there, what the president is going to say or how he's going to interact with the Supreme Court. After all, the Chief Justice just wrote an opinion that took away the president's beloved power to impose tariffs under a certain law. There are other laws that he is utilizing now. But most importantly, I would say, is what he says about Iran. And just picking up from what Taylor said, there is more troops and equipment in that region, the most that we've seen since the United States invaded Iraq back in 2003. Marco Rubio did meet with top congressional leaders today. The president has been, by all accounts, repeatedly briefed by his military brass about what his options are there. They're not entirely good. What he hasn't done is make the case to the American people about why this really matters to our interests. Once you start dropping bombs again in a major way on Iran or anywhere else, it could really unleash some unintended consequences that can endanger the United States. So what really is the deal that he is seeking? Is he looking to stop a nuclear program? Because after all, he said after the United States bombed Iran over the summer that their nuclear capabilities had been obliterated. That assessment's still on the White House website. So if it has not been obliterated, what has changed? Definitely, there is a significant possibility, Errol, that there could be war. There could be military action. Marco Rubio was slated to be in coming days in Israel. That reportedly has been pushed back. We don't know what the president is exactly seeking. Is it regime change? Again, something the United States has long desired since the 1979 revolution. Is it an end to Iran's ballistic missile program? Is it an end to support for non-state players like Hezbollah in Hamas and Houthis in Yemen? A lot that the president needs to answer. I'm not sure that we'll hear some of it, but I think that many Americans feel that the president owes it to the American people to start giving some more justification for what exactly he's seeking and why it's in our interest to be there. Errol. Okay, lots of drama in tonight's speech, no doubt. There's Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, very much in the news, a source of controversy in her own right. Let's go to political anchor Holly Gregory. She's joining us live from St. Petersburg, Florida. What about you? What do you think the president will be saying tonight, Holly?
Well, I can tell you, Errol, that Republicans want him to be focused on the economy. And he has to reset the message on this because there is no other issue in the midterms that matters more to voters. And as Republicans keep a wary eye to that ever-approaching election day, they know that if that election were held tomorrow, they would certainly lose the House. They might even lose the Senate. So they have got to regroup and regain the footing on the economy, which right now Trump is underwater on. So what they would like to see him do is to come out in a very positive, upbeat, forward-looking tone, is to say, first of all, to the American voters, I feel your pain. I know that you have been trying to dig out of a hole for the last 5 years economically, and I'm building that ladder for you as fast as I can. And then he needs to explain how he has laid the groundwork, and he has some positive things to point to on the economy. Inflation is not perfect, but it's certainly contained. It's at 2.4%, getting close to that 2% target. He's going to talk about his tax cuts kicking in, which were timed to kick in a midterm year, to lead to bigger refunds. Wages up, gas prices down, mortgage rates are starting to move for the first time in years. And as we look here, you see his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, there. She has been messaging this to Republicans on the midterm, saying that this is what Trump is going to focus on. He has not been able, though, to stick to that message. Even just last time in Georgia, when he did a campaign-style rally, he basically said, the economy's back. That's not what voters want to hear. They want to hear that he understands that they're still feeling like things are out of whack with the economy, that prices are too high. He's got to lay out the case that he has laid the groundwork and the trend is going in the right direction and the trend is their friend. And if they'll stick with him, that he has set the groundwork for the next 3 years for the economy to really start firing on all cylinders. But he needs to make that case in a positive way that also acknowledges the real economic pain that voters have been feeling for a long time that has gotten him underwater on this all-important issue right now, Errol.
And to be clear, Holly, the president is not engaged in altruism in trying to help his fellow Republicans survive the midterms. He's going to have a very rough couple of years if control of the House and Senate, for example, were to shift to the Democrats, right?
Oh, certainly. The self-interest is very much there. Whatever happens in that midterm election is going to impact what he's able to do moving forward. Keep in mind, also, he's going to have to be coming back to Congress when it comes to tariffs now with that ruling from the Supreme Court. They're going to be more involved. So from, potentially being impeached again by the House if Democrats take over to his economic policy, this is what's on the line for the president.
Okay. Here is the President of the United States. He'll make his way down to the podium. This will probably take a few minutes. People want a handshake. People want some selfies. And while that's going on, let's talk to Jason Fechner live in Milwaukee. What do you think the president is likely to say to the American public in the next few minutes?
Errol, wonderful to see you, and I want to talk about heightened expectations from a fellow Midwesterner, that is former Republican Governor John Kasich over in Ohio. He posted to social media earlier today that he thinks that President Trump has a wonderful opportunity to really not just bring Republicans together with this speech tonight, but bring the entire country together, much like the Olympics recently have over the last couple of weeks. Kasich, of course, often a critic of his fellow Republican in Donald Trump there. And going back even farther to something that the Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, had talked about in December. She has talked about it several times since. She met with the cabinet and pollsters and political speechwriters ahead of this speech just a matter of days ago about getting that messaging on track ahead of the midterms, as Holly just mentioned there. And she said that out on the campaign trail after this, running as if he's on the As you mentioned off the top of our coverage, things are very different than they were just a year ago right now. His disapproval rating at realclearpolitics.com, the average of all current polls, now up to 55.9%. That is the highest it has been in his term so far. Disapproval among independents down 15 points, according to a new CNN poll. Disapproval among the general public down 12 points since he got back into office last year. So it's a steep hill to climb, and I think Kasich might be over his skis a little bit to say that all that can be resolved in one speech. Obviously, focusing on the economy is going to be a big messaging point for the president and the White House tonight. And I think that I'm most interested to hear who he is going to be talking to the most throughout this speech. Is it that 30 to 35% of the American electorate that has stood by President Trump's side since jump back in 2015 and 2016, and they have kind of ridden these waves with him? He's, lost a number of over the last 10 months or so. Or is it the general American public as he tries to kind of turn these poll numbers around? Now, I know the president and a lot of Republicans out there say that these poll numbers aren't fake, but if you believe them, the president's got a big task ahead of him, not just over the course of the next 2 to 3 hours, as we are led to believe that this speech could go, or obviously the next 8 months or so until the midterms, and then 10 months to see which party is in control there on Capitol Hill. So a fascinating couple hours and change surely ahead of us here tonight, Errol.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you for that, Jason. The president shaking hands with the members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Unclear, I guess we'll get a better reading on this, but when he shook the hands of members of the Supreme Court, he may have gone past Amy Coney Barrett, who recently ruled against him, one of the people he appointed to the Supreme Court, of course. Standing behind the president, as is tradition, you have the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, as well as the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. The president about to take to the podium and begin his speech. And, of course, we'll bring that to you. And Josh Robin with me here in New York, in studio. The president, while the talking points and what the party wants is for him to talk about the economy, it's almost irresistible for him to go to where he has untrammeled power, which is foreign policy and the military. He's not the first president to have to wrestle with that, of course.
No, he's very much not. The foreign affairs have a way of putting in, of sneaking in. But I think the president has gone after difficult problems, perhaps more than other presidents, trying to solve some wars and maybe giving people the expectations that he could solve wars. He definitely brought about a major ceasefire that is still, for better or for worse, held within the Gaza Strip and the release of Israeli hostages. Obviously, that's an extremely complicated situation. The day one, I'm going to fix the war, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, that obviously has not happened. And today is, by coincidence, the 4th anniversary of Russia's invasion. There have been more than 1 million deaths on the Russian side, or injuries, 600,000 on the Ukrainian side. That is something that the president has not been able to solve.
This is a joint session of Congress, and so the Speaker of the House will officially welcome the president to the chamber.
I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's really an honor. Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, First Lady of the United States. Second Lady of the United States. Members of Congress and my fellow Americans, our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. Less than 5 months from now, our country will celebrate an epic milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of our glorious American independence. This July 4th, we will mark 2.5 centuries of liberty and triumph, progress and freedom in the most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And you've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America. When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited, a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, a wide open border, horrendous recruitment for military and police, rampant crime at home, and wars and chaos all over the world. But tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before, and a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages. And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure. Thank you. Today, our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast. The roaring economy is roaring like never before, and our enemies are scared. Our military and police are stacked, and America is respected again, perhaps like never before. After 4 years in which millions and millions of illegal aliens poured across our borders, totally unvetted and unchecked, we now have the strongest and most secure border in American history by far. In the past 9 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States. But we will always allow people to come in legally, people that will love our country and will work hard to maintain our country. The flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year. And last year, the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125 years, year 1900. In fact, substantially before my wonderful father, I had a wonderful father, Fred, before he was born, substantially before he was born. That's a long time ago. He wouldn't like me to say that, but that's a long time ago. The Biden administration and its allies in Congress gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. But in 12 months, my administration has driven core inflation down to the lowest level in more than 5 years. And in the last 3 months of 2025, it was down to 1.7%. Gasoline, which reached a peak of over $6 a gallon in some states under my predecessor, it was quite honestly a disaster, is now below $2.30 a gallon in most states, and in some places, $1.99 a gallon. And when I visited the great state of Iowa just a few weeks ago, I even saw $1.85 a gallon for gasoline. Mortgage rates are the lowest in 4 years and falling fast, and the annual cost of a typical new mortgage is down almost $5,000 just since I took office. 1 year. And low interest rates will solve the Biden-created housing problem while at the same time protecting the values of those people who already own a house that really feel rich for the first time in their lives. We want to protect those values. We want to keep those values up. We're going to do both. And we are going to keep it that way. The stock market has set 53 all-time record highs since the election. Think of that, 1 year. Boosting pensions, 401ks, and retirement accounts for the millions and millions of Americans. They're all gaining. Everybody's up, way up. In 4 long years, the last administration got less than $1 trillion in new investment in the United States. And when I say less, substantially less. In 12 months, I secured commitments for more than $18 trillion pouring in from all over the globe. Think of it, much less than $1 trillion for 4 years versus much more than $18 trillion for 1 year. What a difference a president makes. A short time ago, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, the hottest. As thousands of new businesses are forming and factories, plants, and laboratories are being built, we have added 70,000 new construction jobs in just a very short period of time. It's getting bigger and bigger and stronger. Nobody can believe what they're watching. American oil production is up by more than 600,000 barrels a day, and we just received from our new friend and partner, Venezuela, more than 80 million barrels of oil. American natural gas production is at an all-time high because I kept my promise to drill, baby, drill. More Americans are working today than at any time in the history of our country. Think about that. Any time in the history of our country, more working today, and 100% of all jobs created under my administration have been in the private sector. We ended DEI in America. We cut a record number of job-killing regulations, and in 1 year we have lifted 2.4 million Americans, a record, off of food stamps. And for all of these reasons, I say tonight, members of Congress, the state of our union is strong. Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much. And I say, no, 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 you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in. Go ahead. They did. That's the first time I've ever seen them get up. And actually, not all of them did get up. But they beat a fantastic Canadian team in overtime, as everybody saw, as did the American women who will soon be coming to the White House. They were in the Oval Office before, and I just want to say a second very big congratulations to Team USA. But I have to say that, and I told them this, and we took a vote of the team. I said, anybody votes no, I'm not doing it. So they stood there, and they weren't about to say no, because I've never seen a goaltender play as well as goalie Connor Hellebuck. I think of it, 46 shots on goal, and I asked him, the one shot, the one where you put your stick in the back and it hit the neck of your stick and bounced off, do you practice that, or was that a little lucky? He refused to answer that question. But I just want to tell you that the members of this great hockey squad will be very happy to hear, based on their vote and my vote, and in this case my vote was more important, that I will soon be presenting Connor with our highest civilian honor, which we will be given, and which has been given to many athletes over the years. But when I say many, not too many, like 12, it's called the highest civilian honor in our country, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Great athletes have gotten that, very great, the best, and I thought he deserved it. And I did take a vote, every single one of them. I said, I'm not giving it if anybody goes no, and every single one of them rapidly put up their hand. So I want to thank you all. What a special job you did. What special champions you are. Thank you very much. I'm also pleased to say that the next time the Olympic torch is lit, it will be here in America for the 2028 Olympics, and it's the summer version right in Los Angeles. We're going to do a good job in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles is going to be safe, just like Washington, D.C. is now one of the safest cities in the country. And this year, and I must say I got them both. I got them in my first term, and I was disappointed because I didn't think I'd be the president when this happened. But strange things took place. And now I've got them because I got the Olympics, I got the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and I wanted to claim the 250th, but I didn't get away with that one. I couldn't claim that one for myself. But we're getting the World Cup, so we have the World Cup and the Olympics coming, and that is exciting news. So this will be a year to celebrate our country and the heroes who have kept it free. Men like Buddy Taggart. At age 17, Buddy volunteered to defend America in World War II, serving in the Pacific under the great General Douglas MacArthur. He fought bravely in the famous Battle of Manila, worked so hard. He was badly wounded and almost killed by enemy machine guns in Luzon. And 81 years ago this month, he liberated the largest internment camp in the Philippines, one of the largest anywhere in the world. But he earned many honors, including a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star, came home, started a family, and tonight he is in the gallery looking forward to July 4th, 2026, his 100th birthday. So, Buddy, you're a brave man, and we salute you. Even in times of challenge, setback, and immense heartache, the spirit of 1776 has always shone through very brightly. It was July 4th of last year when floodwaters tore through a girls' summer camp in Central Texas, one of the worst things I've ever seen. I was there, rising 26 feet in the matter of minutes, tragically claiming many, many lives. You all remember that one. As the waters threatened to sweep her away, 11-year-old Millie Kate McClelland closed her eyes and prayed to God. She thought she was going to die. Those prayers were answered when Coast Guard rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin descended from a helicopter above. Nobody knew where he came from. It was Scott's first ever rescue mission, a young guy, but very brave, very, very top, always top in his class. And he lifted not just Millie Kate, but 164 others to safety. People watched Scott from a distance, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The winds were blowing, the rain was pouring, everything was going, and that rapid water, nobody's ever seen anything like it. They said, wow, that's something. Tonight, Scott and Millie Kate are here together, reunited for the very first time. Thank you, Scott, Millie Kate. And Petty Officer Ruskin, I'm pleased to inform you that I am now awarding you the Legion of Merit for extraordinary heroism, which is what it was, extraordinary heroism. Thank you. I'd like to have the military aide to please come down and take care of the service. Military aide, thank you very much. Take care of that very important service. Thank you very much. From 1776 to today, every generation of Americans has stepped forward to defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they're really doing it for the next generation. But now it's our turn. Together we're building a nation where every child has the chance to reach higher and go further, where government answers to the people, not the powerful, and where the interests of hardworking American citizens are always our first and ultimate concern. That is the debt we owe to the heroes who came before us, and that is the promise we must keep to America for our 250th year. Last year, I urged this Congress to begin the mission by passing the largest tax cuts in American history, and our Republican majorities delivered so beautifully. Thank you, Republicans. All Democrats, every single one of them, voted against these really important and very necessary massive tax cuts. They wanted large-scale tax increases to hurt the people instead. But we held strong, and with the great, big, beautiful bill, we gave you no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. And we also made interest on auto loans tax deductible the first time, but only if the car is made in America. Recently in Pennsylvania, I met Megan Hemhauser, a devoted mom who's homeschools her children, beautiful, 2 children, during the day while waiting tables at night as her husband works overtime operating very heavy equipment. Megan is here this evening, and she's happy to tell you that she is so much richer because with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and our expanded child tax credit done again by Republicans, Megan and her husband will take home more than $5,000 extra just for the year, cutting her tax bill in more than half. Megan, please stand up. We're fighting for you, Megan. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Megan. We're fighting for you, Megan. Under our bill, parents like Megan can also activate their children's brand new Trump accounts. And I didn't name it. I did not name that. Nobody believes me, but I did not name it. It was named by a very tall man sitting right there in the third row. Nice man, a good man. Tax-free investment accounts for every American child. This is something that's so special and has taken off and gone through the roof. Millions will be pre-funded courtesy of the U.S. Treasury and private individuals like Michael and Susan Dell, who have donated $6.25 billion to fund the Trump accounts for 25 million American children. They're great people. When I asked Michael Dell, how do you make all that money? He said, well, I just sat on my dorm in school and I made computers and I'd sell them to people. And I just kept selling and selling and selling. And pretty amazing story. That's called the American dream. He sold a lot of computers, a lot of those laptops. So I congratulate him on that. But I really thank him and Susan, as well as others like Brad Gerstner, a very tremendous guy. He was behind it right from the beginning. Brad Gerstner. Thank you, Brad. So with modest additional contributions, these young people's accounts could grow to over $100,000 or more by the time they turn 18. Think of it. How much money is that for somebody that started with nothing? Over 100,000, could be much more than that. To make this investment in our children's future, go to TrumpAccounts.gov. TrumpAccounts.gov. And a lot of people are doing it. They're setting every record in the book. It's popular. They knew what it was going to take. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of the people that got it started. And now it's just taken off. One of the primary reasons for our country's stunning economic turnaround, the biggest in history, where the Dow Jones broke 50,000 4 years ahead of schedule, and the S&P hit 7,000, where it wasn't supposed to do it for many years, were tariffs. I used these tariffs, took in hundreds of billions of dollars to make great deals for our country, both economically and on a national security basis. Everything was working well. Countries that were ripping us off for decades are now paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. They were ripping us so badly, you all know that. Everybody knows it. Even the Democrats know it. They just don't want to say it. And yet these countries are now happy, and so are we. We made deals. The deals are all done. And they're happy. They're not making money like they used to, but we're making a lot of money. There was no inflation, tremendous growth, and the big story was how Donald Trump called the economy correctly, and 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics didn't. They got it totally wrong. They got it really wrong. And then just 4 days ago, an unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court. It just came down. It came down. Very unfortunate ruling. But the good news is that almost all countries and corporations want to keep the deal that they already made, right, Scott? Knowing that the legal power that I, as president, have to make a new deal could be far worse for them, and therefore they will continue to work along the same successful path that we had negotiated before the Supreme Court's unfortunate involvement. So despite the disappointing ruling, these powerful, country-saving, it's saving our country, the kind of money we're taking in, peace-protecting. Many of the wars I settled was because of the threat of tariffs. I wouldn't have been able to settle them without. Will remain in place under fully approved and tested alternative legal statutes. And they have been tested for a long time. They're a little more complex, but they're actually probably better, leading to a solution that will be even stronger than before. Congressional action will not be necessary. It's already time-tested and approved. And as time goes by, I believe the tariffs paid for by foreign countries will, like in the past, substantially replace the modern-day system of income tax, taking a great financial burden off the people that I love. Right? Moving forward, factories, jobs, investment, and trillions of dollars will continue pouring into the United States of America because we finally have a president who puts America first. I put America first. I love America. For decades before I came along, we had the exact opposite. From trade to healthcare, from energy to immigration, everything was stolen and rigged in order to drain the wealth out of the productive, hardworking people who make our country great, who make our country run. Under Biden and his corrupt partners in Congress and beyond, it reached a breaking point with the Green New scam, open borders for everyone. They poured in by the millions and millions from prisons, from mental institutions. They were murderers, 11,888 murders. They came into our country. You allowed that to happen. And record-setting inflation that cost the typical family $34,000 in just a speck of time. Now the same people in this chamber who voted for those disasters suddenly used the word affordability, a word. They just used it. Somebody gave it to them, knowing full well that they caused and created the increased prices that all of our citizens had to endure. You caused that problem. You caused that problem. They knew their statements were a lie. They knew it. They knew their statements were a dirty, rotten lie. Their policies created the high prices. Our policies are rapidly ending them. We are doing really well. Those prices are plummeting downward. The price of eggs is down 60%, Madam Secretary, thank you. The cost of chicken, butter, fruit, hotels, automobiles, rent is lower today than when I took office by a lot. And even beef, which was very high, is starting to come down significantly. Just hold on a little while, we're getting it down. And soon you will see numbers that few people would think were possible to achieve just a short time ago. Nobody can believe when they see the kind of numbers, and especially energy, when they see energy going down to numbers like that, they cannot believe it. It's like another big tax cut. I'm also confronting one of the biggest ripoffs of our times, the crushing cost of health care caused by you. Since the passage of the Unaffordable Care Act, sometimes referred to as Obamacare, big insurance companies have gotten rich. It was meant for the insurance companies, not for the people. With our government giving them hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars a year as their stock prices soared 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, and even 1,700%, like nothing else. That's why I introduced the great health care plan. I want to stop all payments to big insurance companies and instead give that money directly to the people so they can buy their own health care, which will be better health care at a much lower cost. In addition, my plan requires maximum price transparency. That's a big deal. Sounds so simple, so big. And I did that in my first term, and the Democrats immediately terminated it with full knowledge that they were doing a very bad thing for the people. Costs were going to go way up, and that's what happened, and now I'm bringing them way down on health care and everything else. I'm also ending the wildly inflated cost of prescription drugs like has never happened before. Other presidents tried to do it, but they never could. They tried. Most didn't try, actually. But they tried. They said they tried. They couldn't do it. They didn't even come close. They were all talk and no action, but I got it done. Under my just enacted most favored nation agreements, Americans who have for decades paid by far the highest prices of any nation anywhere in the world for prescription drugs will now pay the lowest price anywhere in the world for drugs. Anywhere. The lowest price. So in my first year of the second term, should be my third term, but strange things happen. I took prescription drugs, a very big part of health care, from the highest price in the entire world to the lowest. That's a big achievement. The result is price differences of 300, 400, 500, 600% and more, all available right now at a new website called TrumpRx.gov. And I didn't name that one either, by the way. And here tonight is the very first customer ever to get that big discount, and it is big. Catherine Rayner. For 5 years, she and her husband have struggled with infertility, and they turned to IVF. One drug has been costing Catherine $4,000 to purchase, but a few weeks ago, she logged onto the TrumpRx website and got that same drug that cost $4,000, got it for under $500. A reduction of much more, actually, than $3,500. Catherine, we are all praying for you, and you're going to be a great mom. So now I'm calling on Congress to codify my most favored nation program into law. Now, the one thing, I'm not sure it matters because it's going to be very hard for somebody that comes along after me to say, let's raise drug prices by 700 or 800%. But John and Mike, if you don't mind, codify it anyway. They may do it. Codify it anyway. Thank you. Many Americans are also concerned that energy demand from AI data centers could unfairly drive up their electric utility bills. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that I have negotiated the new Ratepayer Protection Pledge. You know what that is? We're telling the major tech companies that they have the obligation to provide for their own power needs. They can build their own power plants as part of their factory so that no one's prices will go up. And in many cases, prices of electricity will go down for the community, and very substantially down. This is a unique strategy never used in this country before. We have an old grid. It could never handle the kind of numbers, the amount of electricity that's needed. So I'm telling them they can build their own plant. They're going to produce their own electricity. It will ensure the company's ability to get electricity while at the same time lowering prices of electricity for you, and could be very substantial for all of you cities and towns. You're going to see some good things happen over the next number of years. Another pillar of the American dream that has been under attack is home ownership. With us tonight is Rachel Wiggins, a mom of 2 from Houston. She placed bids on 20 homes and lost all of those bids to gigantic investment firms that bypassed inspection, paid all cash, and turned those houses into rentals, stealing away her American dream. She was devastated. Stories like this are why last month I signed executive order to ban large Wall Street investment firms from buying up in the thousands single-family homes. And now I'm asking Congress to make that ban permanent, because homes for people, really, that's what we want. We want homes for people, not for corporations. Corporations are doing just fine. Raysel, thank you very much. Good luck with your home. You'll get one soon. We're also working to make it easier for Americans to save for retirement. And under this administration, we will always protect Social Security and Medicare. They are not protecting it for our seniors. We will always protect Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Since I took office, the typical 401k balance is up by at least $30,000. That's a lot of money. We have millions and millions of people, because the stock market has done so well, setting all those records. Your 401ks are way up. Yet half of all of working Americans still do not have access to a retirement plan with matching contributions from an employer. To remedy this gross disparity, I'm announcing that next year my administration will give these often forgotten American workers, great people, the people that built our country, access to the same type of retirement plan offered to every federal worker. We will match your contribution with up to $1,000 each year, as we ensure that all Americans can profit from a rising stock market. Let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information. They stood up for that. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Did Nancy Pelosi stand up if she's here? Doubt it. Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without delay. I wasn't sure if anybody even on this side was going to applaud for that. I'm very impressed. Thank you. I'm very impressed. But when it comes to the corruption that is plundering, it's plundering America. There's been no more stunning example than Minnesota, where members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. Oh, we have all the information. And in actuality, the number is much higher than that. And California, Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse. This is the kind of corruption that shreds the fabric of a nation, and we are working on it like you wouldn't believe. So tonight, although started 4 months ago, I am officially announcing the war on fraud to be led by our great Vice President, J.D. Vance. Get it done. And if we're able to find enough of that fraud, we will actually have a balanced budget overnight. It'll go very quickly. That's the kind of money you're talking about. We'll balance our budget. The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA. And it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games. Delilah. Delilah Coleman was only 5 years old in June 2024 when a 18-wheel tractor trailer plowed into her stopped car traveling at 60 miles an hour or more. The driver was an illegal alien let in by Joe Biden and given a commercial driver's license by open borders politicians in California. Doctors said Delilah would never be able to walk or talk, have a good life. She wouldn't even be able to eat again. But against all odds, she is now in the first grade learning to walk. And she's here this evening with her dad, Marcus, a fantastic man. Delilah, please, you are a great inspiration. Please stand up. Thank you, Delilah. Many, if not most, illegal aliens do not speak English and cannot read even the most basic road signs as to direction, speed, danger, or location. That's why tonight I'm calling on Congress to pass what we will call the Delilah Law, barring any state from granting commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens. And yesterday, as you probably saw at the White House, I hosted a ceremony with Americans who lost their treasured loved ones to the scourge of illegal immigration. People came into our country, how we allowed this to happen with our open borders. These are the angel moms and families that for decades our government betrayed and our media totally ignored. It was terrible. Hard to believe, actually. In 2023, a 16-year-old high school cheerleader named Elizabeth Medina was supposed to perform in her town's Christmas parade, but she never arrived. Her mother, Jacqueline, went home to look for her, and she found her lying dead in a bathtub, bleeding profusely after being stabbed 25 times. Elizabeth's killer was a previously arrested illegal alien who had broken in and brutally extinguished the brightest light in her family's life, violently and viciously. Her heartbroken mother is in the gallery to remind everyone in this chamber exactly why we are deporting illegal alien criminals to our country at record numbers, and we're getting them the hell out of here fast. We don't want them. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. Thank you. We can never forget that many in this room not only allowed the border invasion to happen before I got involved, but indeed they would do it all over again if they ever had the chance. If they ever got elected, they would open up those borders to some of the worst criminals anywhere in the world. The only thing standing between Americans and a wide open border right now is President Donald J. Trump and our great Republican patriots in Congress. Thank you. Thank you. As we speak, Democrats in this chamber have cut off all funding for the Department of Homeland Security. It's all cut off. It's all cut off. They have instituted another Democrat shutdown, the first one costing us 2 points on GDP. 2 points we lost on GDP, which probably made them quite happy, actually. Now they have closed the agency responsible for protecting Americans from terrorists and murderers. Tonight I'm demanding the full and immediate restoration of all funding for the border security, homeland security of the United States, and also for helping people clean up their snow. We have no money because of the Democrats, and it would be nice. We'd love to give you a hand at cleaning it up, but you gave no money. Nobody's getting paid. It's a shame. So you have to think about it. We have, in case you didn't know, a pretty large snowstorm out there. One of the great things about the State of the Union is how it gives Americans the chance to see clearly what their representatives really believe. So tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Yeah. And perhaps most importantly, I'm asking you to approve the Save America Act. To stop illegal aliens and others who are unpermitted persons from voting in our sacred American elections. The cheating is rampant in our elections. It's rampant. It's very simple. All voters must show voter ID. All voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote. And no more crooked mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. None. And this should be an easy one. And by the way, it's polling at 89%, including Democrats. 89%. And even the new communist mayor of New York City, I think he's a nice guy, actually. Speak to him a lot. Bad policy, but nice guy. Just said they want people to shovel snow. They got hit hard. Wants them to shovel snow, but if you apply for that job, you need to show 2 original forms of ID and a Social Security card. Yet they don't want identification for the greatest privilege of them all, voting in America. No, it's no good. No good. Both Republicans and Democrats overwhelmingly agree on the policy that we just enunciated. And Congress should unite and enact this common sense, country-saving legislation right now, and it should be before anything else happens. And the reason they don't want to do it, why would anybody not want voter ID? One reason, because they want to cheat. There's only one reason. They make up all excuses. They say it's racist. They come up with things. You almost say, what imagination they have. They want to cheat. They have cheated. And their policy is so bad that the only way they can get elected is to cheat. And we're going to stop it. We have to stop it, John. And here is one more opportunity to show common sense in government. In the gallery tonight are Sage Blair and her mother, Michelle. In 2021, Sage was 14 when school officials in Virginia sought to socially transition her to a new gender, treating her as a boy and hiding it from her parents. Hard to believe, isn't it? Before long, a confused Sage ran away from home after she was found in a horrific situation in Maryland. A left-wing judge refused to return Sage to her parents because they did not immediately state that their daughter was their son. Sage was thrown into an all-boys state home and suffered terribly for a long time. But today, all of that is behind them because Sage is a proud and wonderful young woman with a full-ride scholarship to Liberty University. Sage and Michelle, please stand up. And thank you for your great bravery. And who can believe that we're even speaking about things like this? 15 years ago, if somebody was up here and said that, they'd say, what's wrong with him? But now we have to say it because it's going on all over numerous states without even telling the parents. But surely we can all agree no state can be allowed to rip children from their parents' arms and transition them to a new gender against the parents' will. Who would believe that we're even talking about this? We must ban it, and we must ban it immediately. Look, nobody stands up. These people are crazy, I'm telling you. They're crazy. Amazing. Boy, oh boy. We're lucky we have a country. With people like this, Democrats are destroying our country, but we've stopped it just in the nick of time, didn't we? No one cares more about protecting America's youth than our wonderful First Lady. Now a movie star. She's a movie star. Can you believe it? Who would have believed that? Over the past year, she has had an incredible impact championing AI legislation, advancing a landmark executive order on foster care, and helping secure $30 million to launch the Melania Trump Foster Youth to Independence Initiative. It's a tremendous, really a tremendous thing that happened and had a lot of bipartisan support. She gets much better bipartisan support than I do. I get none. She gets a lot. Someday you're going to have to tell me how you did that. And students and educators in every state have joined the First Lady's efforts in the presidential AI challenge, keeping America's next generation positioned to succeed and strongly succeed in the future. Tonight, we welcome two young people whose lives reflect the First Lady's impact, Sierra Burns and Everest Nevermont. Thank you both, and Melania, thank you. I know how hard you worked on it. Thank you very much. I'm very proud to say that during my time in office, both the first 4 years and in particular this last year, there has been a tremendous renewal in religion, faith, Christianity, and belief in God. Tremendous renewal. This is especially true among young people, and a big part of that had to do with my great friend, Charlie Kirk, a great guy, great man. So last year, Charlie was violently murdered by an assassin and martyred, really martyred for his beliefs. His wonderful wife, Erica, is with us tonight. Erica, please stand. Thank you, Erica. Been through a lot. In Charlie's memory, we must all come together to reaffirm that America is one nation under God, and we must totally reject political violence of any kind. We love religion, and we love bringing it back. And it's coming back at levels that nobody actually thought possible. It's really a beautiful thing to see. Above all, unleashing America's promise requires keeping our communities safe. We have made incredible strides, yet dangerous repeat offenders continue to be released by pro-crime Democrat politicians again and again. We are honored to be joined tonight by a woman who's been through hell, Anya Zarutska. In 2022, she and her beautiful daughter, so beautiful, what a beautiful young woman, Irina, fled war-torn Ukraine to live with relatives near Charlotte, North Carolina. And by the way, what's going on with Charlotte? Last summer, 23-year-old Irina was riding home on the train when a deranged monster who had been arrested over a dozen times and was released through no cash bail, stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. No one will ever forget. There were people on that train. No one will ever forget the expression of terror on Irina's face as she looked up at her attacker in the last seconds of her life. She died instantly. She had escaped a brutal war only to be slain by a hardened criminal set free to kill in America came in through open borders. Mrs. Zaretsky, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina. How do you not stand? How do you not stand? I'm asking this Congress to pass tough legislation to ensure that violent and dangerous repeat offenders are put behind bars, and importantly, that they stay there. Starting last summer, I deployed our National Guard and federal law enforcement to restore law and order to our most dangerous cities, including Memphis, Tennessee, big success, New Orleans, Louisiana, big success, and our nation's capital itself, Washington, D.C., where we have almost no crime anymore in Washington, D.C. How did that happen? In fact, crime in Washington is now at the lowest level ever recorded, and murders in D.C. this January were down close to 100% from a year ago. They don't like to hear that. One of the sick people, one of the brave service members who helped achieve this stunning turnaround was 20-year-old West Virginia Army National Guard Specialist Sarah Beckstrom. After a 4-month deployment, she voluntarily extended her service, and her rank was going to be lifted. She was doing so well. They were so proud of her. But the very next day, she was on patrol near the White House when she was ambushed and shot in the head by a terrorist monster from Afghanistan. Shouldn't have been in our country. And all because she wore the uniform of our nation. She was shot. He traveled here because he didn't like people wearing our uniform. He was sick and deranged. Shouldn't have been in our country. Sarah Beckstrom died in order to defend our capital, and we are honored to be joined by her wonderful parents, Gary and Eva Lee. Your daughter was a true American patriot, and she will be greatly missed. She was a great person. I saw reports on her. They've never seen anything like her. So sorry. Thank you very much. A great young lady. I saw reports that were like, perfect. She was perfect. Serving alongside Sarah that day was Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf. The terrorist shot Andrew in the head, and no one thought he could possibly make it. The two of them, Sarah and Andrew, both shot violently in the head. Neither was expected to make it. They weren't even given a chance, except his wonderful mother, named Melody, who I spoke to the same night, and she was so positive. The doctors thought that Andrew was gone, but his mother said, no, Mr. President, Andrew will be fine. He's going to make it. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he was given almost no chance. She said, I have no doubt, sir, he's going to be okay. This was a conversation that I had with her that night, with her son laying helplessly in bed, blood all over. Everybody is praying, she said, sir, he will be okay. The doctors didn't understand what she was saying, and after looking at the results of the damage done, neither did I. She was so strong and conclusive that even Andrew's great father felt she didn't really understand the gravity of the situation. But she turned out to be right. Right, Melanie? She turned out to be right. Amazing, actually. I said, where does this woman come from? She's the most positive person I've ever met. With God's help, Andrew has battled back from the edge of death, and we're talking about the edge of death, on his way to a miraculous recovery. He's got a little work to do, but he's doing great. Nice to see you. He's a good-looking guy. Nice to see you. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you very much. So, Andrew, while you're up, now I'm going to ask a highly respected General James Seward to present Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf and the great family of Sarah Beckstrom with the award created by our late, great President George Washington himself. It's called the Purple Heart. We love you all. Love you. We're proudly restoring safety for Americans at home, and we are also restoring security for Americans abroad. Our country has never been stronger. In my first 10 months, I ended 8 wars, including Cambodia. Isn't it funny? You're sick people. Cambodia and Thailand, Pakistan and India. Would have been a nuclear war. 35 million people said the Prime Minister of Pakistan would have died if it were not for my involvement. Kosovo and Serbia, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, Armenia and Azerbaijan, the Congo and Rwanda, and of course the war in Gaza, which proceeds at a very low level. It's just about there. And I want to thank Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner for your help. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jay. And I also want to thank the man they report to, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Thank you, Marco. People don't like you. You know, Marco got 100% of the votes when he was in confirmation. I think our next one was about 54%. And some of the Democrats are now saying, I can't believe we approved that guy. And he said it's an honor that they feel that way, right, Marco? You have done a great job, great Secretary of State. I think he'll go down as the best ever. Under the ceasefire I negotiated, every single hostage, both living and dead, has been returned home. Can you believe that? Nobody thought it was possible. Nobody thought that was possible. Both living and dead. And those parents who had a dead son, their boy, they'd always tell me their boy, they wanted him as much as though he were living. That was an amazing period of time. And they came back, and when we got all of the living hostages back, and many, many before them, but I always said those last 20 are going to be very tough, but we got many, many more, hundreds. But I said those last 20 are going to be tough. We got them back. But we only got back 14 or 15 of the dead of the 28. And believe it or not, Hamas worked along with Israel, and they dug and they dug and they dug. It's a tough thing to do, going through bodies all over, passing up 100 bodies sometimes for each one that they found. Tough job. And they finally got it back to 27. And then Steve and Jared, they got it back to 28. They found all 28. Nobody thought that was possible, but we did it. And I remember the family of the 28th. They were so grieved, but they were so happy as it's possible to be. They had their boy back. The mother said, "Sir, we have our boy back." What a period of time that was, but we got them all back. So thank you both very much. Great job. And we're working very hard to end the 9th war, the killing and slaughter between Russia and Ukraine, where 25,000 soldiers are dying each and every month. Think of that, 25,000 soldiers are dying a month. A war which would have never happened if I were president. Would have never happened. As president, I will make peace wherever I can, but I will never hesitate to confront threats to America wherever we must. That's why in a breakthrough operation last June, the United States military obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program with an attack on Iranian soil known as Operation Midnight Hammer. For decades, it had been the policy of the United States never to allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. Many decades. Since they seized control of that proud nation 47 years ago, the regime and its murderous proxies have spread nothing but terrorism and death and hate. They've killed and maimed thousands of American service members and hundreds of thousands and even millions of people with what's called roadside bombs. They were the kings of the roadside bomb. And we took out Soleimani. I did that during my first term. Had a huge impact. He was the father of the roadside bomb. And just over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like, 32,000 protesters. 32,000 protesters in their own country. They shot them and hung them. We stopped them from hanging a lot of them with the threat of serious violence. But this is some terrible people. They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular, nuclear weapons. Yet they continue, starting it all over. We wiped it out, and they want to start all over again, and are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon. My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen. And no nation should ever doubt America's resolve. We have the most powerful military on earth. I rebuilt the military in my first term. We're going to continue to do so. Also, we just approved a $1 trillion budget. We have no choice. We have to be strong, because hopefully we will seldom have to use this great power that we built together. It's really called peace through strength, and it's been very, very effective. So thanks to Republicans in Congress, we're investing that record number of dollars, have no choice, in the United States Armed Forces. Also creating a lot of jobs, but we're not even doing it for that reason. Because as I said, we have more jobs, more people working today than ever before in the history of our country. And NATO countries are friends and allies. They are. They're our friends and they're our allies. Have just agreed, at my very strong request, to pay 5% of GDP for military defense rather than the 2%, which they weren't paying. We were paying for almost all of NATO. Now they're paying 5 as opposed to not paying 2. And getting that 5% was something which everyone said would never be done, could not happen. We got it really easily with one meeting. And big difference between 2% that's not paid. We were paying the freight of many of them. Very few were paid up. Now 5%, then they're paid. And everything we send over to Ukraine is sent through NATO, and they pay us in full. They pay us totally in full. Every branch of our armed forces is setting records for recruitment. This is so exciting. And every service member recently... And every service member recently received a warrior dividend of $1,776. You know, they put it on my desk. We got the money from tariffs and other things, a lot of money we have. We have much more money than people understand. Have to rebuild that program a little bit, but it won't take long. But we got the money, and it was $1,775, and they wanted my approval. And I said, what's the number? $1,775. I said, wait a minute, for $1 more we can have $1,776. It's going to... I said, we're going to figure that. I never asked anybody if we could afford it. $1 more, I said $1,776. And I said, that's good. And I'll tell you what, our military, that was 4 months ago, our military, I never see a person in the military that doesn't thank me for it, so we're honored to do it. They deserve it. And we call it 1776. It was great. And we love our military. We love our law enforcement. We love our firemen. You know, the firemen don't get mentioned enough. We love our firemen. We're also... We're also restoring American security and dominance in the Western Hemisphere, acting to secure our national interests and defend our country from violence, drugs, terrorism, and foreign interference. For years, large swaths of territory in our region, including large parts of Mexico, really large parts of Mexico, have been controlled by murderous drug cartels. That's why I designated these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and I declared illicit fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. And with our new military campaign, we have stopped record amounts of drugs coming into our country and virtually stopped it completely coming in by water or sea. You probably noticed that. We very seriously damaged their fishing industry also. Nobody wants to go fishing anymore. We've also taken down one of the most sinister cartel kingpins of all. You saw that yesterday. In January, elite American warriors carried out one of the most complex, spectacular feats of military competence and power in world history. No one's seen anything like it. Foreign leaders, I won't tell you who, called me and they said, very impressive, very good. They couldn't believe, they all watched. They saw what happened. This is a different fighting force that we had years ago when we fought to tie. You know, it's a great fighting force. I'm so proud of it. Look at Space Force. Space Force is my baby, because we did that. My baby is becoming so important. And America's armed forces overwhelmed all defenses and utterly defeated an enemy, good fighters, to end the reign of outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro and bring him to face American justice. And this was an absolutely colossal victory for the security of the United States, and it also opens up a bright new beginning for the people of Venezuela. We're working closely with the new president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, to unleash extraordinary economic gains for both of our countries and to bring new hope to those who have suffered so terribly. They really did suffer. With us tonight is Alejandro Gonzalez. She grew up in a tight-knit Venezuelan family and was especially close to her beloved uncle Enrique. But after Enrique ran for office and opposed Maduro, he was kidnapped by Maduro's security forces and thrown into the regime's really infamous prison in Caracas. Alejandro feared she would never see her uncle again. She feared for her own life also. But since the raid, we have worked with the new leadership, and they have ordered the closure of that vile prison and released hundreds of political prisoners already, with more to come. Alejandro, I'm pleased to inform you that not only has your uncle been released, but he is here tonight. We brought him over to celebrate his freedom with you in person. Enrique, please come down. Thank you, Enrique. Have a good time. Nice to have you back, Enrique. There were many heroes on that January raid to capture Maduro. Really great heroes. It was very dangerous. They knew we were coming. They were all set. But the deeds of one warrior that night will live forever in the eternal chronicles of military valor. Chief Warrant Officer 5, Eric Slover, planned the mission and was the flight lead in the cockpit of the first helicopter. A big, beautiful, powerful helicopter. It was a massive Chinook carrying, as you can imagine, many, many American warfighters. Wearing the dog tags, his wife Amy had blessed with holy water before he left. She knew it was going to be a rough one. Eric steered the Chinook under the cover of night and descended swiftly upon Maduro's heavily protected military fortress. This was a major military installation, protected by thousands of soldiers and guarded by Russian and Chinese military technology. How did that work out? Not too good. While preparing to land, enemy machine guns fired from every angle, and Eric was hit very badly in the leg and hip, one bullet after another. He absorbed 4 agonizing shots, shredding his leg into numerous pieces. And yet, despite the fact that the use of his legs was vital to successful helicopter flight, legs are the most important part of flying a helicopter. To deliver the many commandos who would capture and detain Maduro was the only thing Eric was thinking about. Then, even as he was gushing blood, which was flowing back down the aisle, helicopter lands at a steep angle. The machine guns stood right in front of him. They were right in front of him, 2 machine gunners who escaped the wrath of the previous planes. Eric maneuvered his helicopter with all of those lives and souls to face the enemy and let his gunners eliminate the threat. Turned the helicopter around so the gunners could take care of business, saving the lives of his fellow warriors from what could have been a catastrophic crash deep in enemy territory. Only after safely landing the helicopter with all the warriors aboard in the exact right spot, which was vital to the mission. We probably would have had to maybe cancel the mission if that didn't happen. Eric told his co-pilot, also wounded, but not as gravely, to take over. I'm about ready to pass out. The success of the entire mission and the lives of his fellow warriors hinge on Eric's ability to take the searing pain. It was unbelievable what's happened to his legs of the bullets and keep on flying and landing, and people knew what was happening. Everybody in the back of the helicopter knew because they saw the blood pouring down the aisle. Chief Warrant Officer Slover is still recovering from his serious wounds, but I'm thrilled to say that he is here tonight with his wife Amy, Eric, and Amy, come on in. So we have a surprise for Eric and Amy. In recognition of Eric's actions above and beyond the call of duty, I would now like to ask General Jonathan Braga to present Chief Warrant Officer Slover with our nation's highest military award, the Congressional Medal of Honor. Well, thank you very much, Eric and Amy. Great to get to know you. I met with them and with a lot of their fellow warriors at Fort Bragg recently. You notice the name Fort Bragg, we have it back, we brought it back. We won the First World War with it, the Second World War with it, and then they decided to change the name. So we changed it back. Everybody wanted to change back too. And 10 of Eric's fellow warriors from that incredible night of victory will also be receiving medals at a private ceremony that will soon be held at the White House. And Eric will be there. Thank you, Eric. That's a big one. Tonight we've celebrated many truly extraordinary American patriots, but there is one last living legend to honor before we go. He is one more heroic American aviator, Navy fighter pilot. Royce Williams served in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, flying more than 220 missions. In the skies over Korea in 1952, Royce was in the dogfight of a lifetime, legendary dogfight. Flying through blizzard conditions, his squadron was ambushed by 7 Soviet fighter planes. It was his first aerial combat of the war, and despite being massively outnumbered and outgunned, Royce led the takedown of 4 enemy jets and almost destroyed the others, vanquishing his adversaries while taking 263 bullets to his own plane and being seriously hurt. His story was secret for over 50 years. He didn't even want to tell his wife, but the legend grew and grew. But tonight, at 100 years old, this brave Navy captain is finally getting the recognition he deserves. He was a legend long before this evening. Royce, please stand up, and I will ask the First Lady of the United States to present Captain Royce Williams with his Congressional Medal of Honor. Thank you, Royce, and thank you, Eric. I've always wanted the Congressional Medal of Honor, but I was informed I'm not allowed to give it to myself, and I wouldn't know why I'd be taking it, but if they ever open up that law, I will be there with you someday. But you know, that's our highest honor, Congressional Medal of Honor, and that's a big thing, and it's an honor to be in the same room with you. Thank you both very much, Eric. Thank you. Thank you. 250 years is a long time in the life of a nation, but in another sense, it's really a mere moment in the eye of history. Two of the gentlemen we met in the gallery this evening took their first breaths 1 century ago, 100 years before that, on July 4th, 1826, the author of the Declaration of Independence, brilliant, Thomas Jefferson, drew his last breath. Just a single long human lifespan separates the giants who declared and won our independence from the heroes who stand among us tonight. Everything our nation has done, everything we have achieved, has been the work of those few great lifetimes. In those brief chapters, Americans built this nation from 13 humble colonies into the pinnacle of human civilization and human freedom, the strongest, wealthiest, most powerful, most successful nation in all of history. Americans ventured out across the daunting and dangerous continent. We carved paths through an unforgiving wilderness, settled a boundless frontier, and tamed the beautiful but very, very dangerous Wild West. From empty marshes and wide open plains, we raised up the world's greatest cities. Together, we mastered the world's mightiest industries and shattered history's monstrous tyrannies. And we liberated millions from the chains of fascism, communism, oppression, and terror. Americans lifted humanity into the skies on the wings of aluminum and steel. And then we launched mankind into the stars on rockets powered by sheer American will and unyielding American pride. We wired the globe with our ingenuity. We captivated the planet with American culture. And now we are pioneering the next great American breakthroughs that will change the entire world. All of this and so much more is the enduring legacy, unmatched glory of the hardworking patriots who built and defended this country and who still carry the hopes and freedoms on all of humanity's backs. For years they were forgotten, betrayed, and cast aside. But that great betrayal is over, and they will never be forgotten again. Because when the world needs courage, daring, vision, and inspiration, it is still turning to America. And when God needs a nation to work his miracles, he knows exactly who to ask. There is no challenge Americans cannot overcome, no frontier too vast for us to conquer, no dream too bold for us to chase, no horizon too distant for us to claim. For our destiny is written by the hand of providence, and these first 250 years were just the beginning. From the rugged border towns of Texas to the heartland villages of Michigan, from the sun-kissed shores of Florida to the endless fields of the Dakotas, and from the historic streets of Philadelphia to right here in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the golden age of America is upon us. The revolution that began in 1776 has not ended. It still continues because the flame of liberty and independence still burns in the heart of every American patriot. And our future will be bigger, better, brighter, bolder, and more glorious than ever before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Coming in at about an hour and 48 minutes, the President of the United States concluding his State of the Union address. He'll be making his way out of the chamber. That, as the similar to the entrance, will include a lot of handshakes with a lot of people, a few selfies with those who want to do that. We've got our whole team here for a little bit of analysis, and in just a minute we'll bring you the Democratic response to the State of the Union, which will be delivered by Governor Abigail Spanberger in Williamsburg, Virginia. Governor Abigail Spanberger recently elected the first female governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. She flipped a seat from red to blue and represents something that the Democrats are interested in portraying to the nation. We'll hear from her in just a minute, but first let's go out to our team. Our Taylor Popolars is there inside the Capitol. I was wondering what you made of the speech.
You know, Errol, given what the president's team had indicated to us he would be touching on, I said before the president started that it would be a mix of domestic policy and foreign policy. We were also told that the president was really going to try to lean into the fact that this is the year of America's 250th birthday, America 250, and it's going to be celebrated a lot over the summer, but that the president and his team wanted to lean into that. And we saw multiple moments from the U.S. men's ice hockey team coming out and presenting their gold medals to the crowd, to 2 different medals of honor being awarded during the State of the Union, which I believe is the first time that that has happened. Those types of surprises and celebrations playing out, coinciding with the president talking about his first year back in office and his goals moving forward. There were, of course, some tense moments, which I think we were all expecting. A good amount of Democratic lawmakers from our colleagues who were in the room watching were talking. Congress, Democratic House members heckling with the president back and forth, and the president expressing his disdain for Democrats in those instances. So that wasn't necessarily surprising, but it was a reality of this. But I think overall, you know, the president really tried to lean into that economic message that honestly he does not talk about every day at the White House, where I have been based for the last year covering him. He has been so much more focused on foreign policy, and his team really wanted to use this opportunity with the State of the Union to try to get that domestic policy message across to Americans who may not listen to the president every day, but did tune in for this big speech tonight. I would say largely the president seemed like he stayed on script, at least the script that his team was preparing in many ways, and that's something that isn't always a guarantee with President Trump. So those were some notable moments. There's a lot more we could dive into, but that's what stood out to me initially.
Absolutely. And
then he went right into laying out the economic case. I would have liked to have seen him maybe lean in a little bit more to letting voters know that he is still understanding that they're not all feeling those good economic indicators that he outlined, but he at least made the case. And I think, Errol, the most viral moment of the night, it was clearly something that the White House had strategized on, and they wanted to see how Democrats would respond to this, was when he said, I want every member of Congress to stand up who believes that the duty of the U.S. government is to protect American citizens and not illegal aliens. And Democrats did not stand up for that. You saw the president really hold on that moment. It's going viral. It's clearly meant to be a midterm ad. You're going to see that pop up, and that is one of the moments that that went exactly the way the White House wanted to script it. I also think a big theme of the night is going to be the people who weren't there, some 70 Democratic lawmakers who decided not to come. I wondered if he might address that. He didn't, but you see Republicans already going on the attack on that. That might play to the progressive base. But overall, we heard Senator Rick Scott, a Republican, come out and say, look, I sat through every one of Joe Biden's State of the Unions. I thought he was the worst president of my lifetime. I didn't like a word that he had to say, but it's my job to show up and to be there. And I think Republicans are really going to play up the fact that 70 members of Congress, for whatever reason, didn't do their job tonight.
yeah. Well, let's go to our Harry Lee, in fact, because there was this alternate rally that was going on outside the Capitol. And Harry, tell us what went on there over the last hour and a half.
In the Well, it actually went longer than an hour and a half. It actually started before the State of the Union. So while this was the longest State of the Union address on record, This one actually went a little longer. It was the counter rally, the Democratic response, and there were about 35 lawmakers who skipped that address to be here tonight. And one of the interesting things is that they all brought their guests. Now, typically, lawmakers bring guests to the State of the Union to talk about heroes in their communities, or perhaps people who embody the real-life impacts of policy. Democrats tried to emphasize the harmful impacts of some of the policies of the Trump administration. They brought people who may have been harmed by ICE, people who may have been harmed by tariffs. There were survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier and convicted sex offender. And in this way, they were trying to discredit the Trump administration's actions over the last year. Now, it was a really striking split screen because a lot of these issues were also discussed in the State of the Union, but here they were clearly trying to make an opening argument for the midterm elections. And these are issues that polling shows are not popular with Americans. So you really see the beginning of the midterms here. And it's still going on. They are wrapping up, but I'll head back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Harry Lee. And we got less than a minute, Jason, but I wanted to get your quick reaction to the president's speech.
Errol, quickly, when we talk about numbers here, last year about 36 million Americans watched the State of the Union. So assuming around that many Americans watch tonight, it's kind of a heavy lift for a speech to really move the needle. Obviously, as you watch clips online, you'll likely do so in individual silos politically over the next couple of days out there. So it takes a lot to have a speech really shift the American electorate out there where they stand on polling. The other part of this, too, of course, you've got slim majorities there in Congress and obviously a lot of guests of the president there tonight. So a warmer reception there for the president in the chamber itself than among the American electorate right now, if you believe that his approval rating is down at around 42 or 43%, depending on the certain polls that are out there right now. So as I kind of mentioned off air, it seemed like there was a bit of a tone shift there. He came out of the gate strong, talking about the economy and talking about the things that his administration has been doing for the American people. And I agree with Holly there. He could have been a little more empathetic with Americans out there who are struggling right now. And that is the complaint that a lot of independents especially have shared in those polls out there, that the economy isn't working in their favor right now. And the president talking about a golden age out there doesn't really jive with that. Errol, back to you.
Stand by. Thanks very much, Jason. Governor Abigail Spanberger in Williamsburg, Virginia. Let's listen in.
We are gathered here in the chambers of the House of Burgesses. In 1705, the people of the Virginia colony gathered here to take on the extraordinary task of governing themselves. Before there was a Declaration of Independence, a Constitution, or a Bill of Rights, there were people in this room. The people who served here ultimately dreamed of what a new nation, unlike anything the world had ever seen, could be. The United States was founded on the idea that ordinary people could reject the unacceptable excesses of poor leadership, band together to demand better of their government, and create a nation that would be an example for the world. And this year, as we celebrate 250 years since America declared our independence from tyranny, I can think of no better place to speak to you as we reflect on the current state of our union. Tonight, as we watched our nation's lawmakers gather for a joint session of Congress, we did not hear the truth from our president. So let's speak plainly and honestly. And let me ask you, the American people watching at home, 3 questions. Is the president working to make life more affordable for you and your family? Is the president working to keep Americans safe both at home and abroad? Is the president working for you? As I campaigned for governor last year, I traveled to every corner of Virginia, and I heard the same pressing concern everywhere. Costs are too high in housing, healthcare, energy, and childcare. And I know these same conversations are being had all across this country. Because since this president took office last year, his reckless trade policies have forced American families to pay more than $1,700 each in tariff costs. Small businesses have suffered, farmers have suffered, some losing entire markets. Everyday Americans are paying the price. And even though the Supreme Court struck these tariffs down 4 days ago, the damage to us, the American people, has already been done. Meanwhile, the president is planning for new tariffs, another massive tax hike on you and your family. And Republicans in Congress, they remain unwilling to assert their constitutional authority to stop him. They're making your life harder. They're making your life more expensive. They're even making it more difficult to see a doctor. Rural health clinics in Virginia and across the country are already closing their doors thanks to the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill, championed by the president and Republicans in Congress. And tonight, the president celebrated this law, the one threatening rural hospitals, stripping health care from millions of Americans and driving up costs in energy and housing, all while cutting food programs for hungry kids. But here in Virginia, I am working with our state legislature to lower costs and make the Commonwealth more affordable. And it's not just me. Democrats across the country are laser focused on affordability in our nation's capital and in state capitals and communities across America. In the most innovative and exceptional nation in the history of the world, Americans deserve to know that their leaders are focused on addressing the problems that keep them up at night. Problems that dictate where you live, whether you can afford to start a business or whether you have to skip a prescription in order to buy groceries. So I'll ask again, is the president working to make life more affordable for you and your family? We all know the answer is no. I grew up in a house of service. My mother was a nurse and my father was a career law enforcement officer. I began my career by following in my father's footsteps as a federal agent working money laundering and narcotics cases. I worked side by side with local and state police to keep our community safe and to uphold and enforce the law. Law enforcement officers across the country know that it is a unique responsibility to do the serious work of investigating crimes, comforting victims, and making arrests. It's about building trust, and that requires an abiding sense of duty and commitment to community. And yet, our president has sent poorly trained federal agents into our cities, where they have arrested and detained American citizens and people who aspire to be Americans. And they have done it without a warrant. They have ripped nursing mothers away from their babies. They have sent children, a little boy in a blue bunny hat, children to far-off detention centers. And they have killed American citizens in our streets. And they have done it all with their faces masked from accountability. Every minute spent sowing fear is a minute not spent investigating murders, crimes against children, or the criminals defrauding seniors of their life savings. Our president told us tonight that we are safer because these agents arrest mothers and detain children. Think about that. Our broken immigration system is something to be fixed, not an excuse for unaccountable agents to terrorize our communities. After working in law enforcement, I continued my career of service as a CIA officer, working undercover to protect the United States and our allies from global threats, terrorism, nuclear weapons, and the aggression of adversarial nations around the globe. But as the president spoke of his perceived successes tonight, he continues to cede economic power and technological strength to Russia, bow down to China, bow down to a Russian dictator, and make plans for war with Iran. Here's the truth. Over the last year, through DOGE, mass firings, and the appointment of deeply unserious people to our nation's most serious positions, our president has endangered the long and storied history of the United States of America being a force for good. So I'll ask again, Is the president working to keep Americans safe, both at home and abroad? We all know the answer is no. In his speech tonight, the president did what he always does. He lied, he scapegoated, and he distracted. And he offered no real solutions to our nation's pressing challenges, so many of which he is actively making worse. He tries to divide us. He tries to enrage us, to pit us against one another, neighbor against neighbor. And sometimes he succeeds. And so you have to ask, who benefits from his rhetoric, his policies, his actions, the short list of laws he's pushed through this Republican Congress? Somebody must be benefiting. He's enriching himself, his family, his friends. The scale of the corruption is unprecedented. There's the cover-up of the Epstein files, the crypto scams, cozying up to foreign princes for airplanes and billionaires for ballrooms, putting his name and face on buildings all over our nation's capital. This is not what our founders envisioned, not by a long shot. So I'll ask again, is the president working for you? We all know the answer is no. But here's the special thing about America. On our 250th anniversary, we know better than any nation what is possible when ordinary citizens, like those who once dreamed right here in this room, reject the unacceptable and demand more of their government. We see it in the determination of students organizing school walkouts all across the country, whose voices are becoming so powerful that the governor of Texas seeks to silence them. We see it in the bravery of Americans in Minnesota standing up for their communities, from peacefully protesting in sub-zero temperatures to carpooling children to school so that their immigrant parents are not ripped away from them in the parking lot. As a mother of 3 school-aged daughters, I am inspired by their bravery, but I am sickened that it is necessary. And Americans across the country are taking action. They are going to the ballot box to reject this chaos. With their votes, they are writing a new story, a more hopeful story. In November, I won my election by 15 points. And we won 13 new seats in our state legislature. Because voters decided they wanted something different. Our campaign earned votes from Democrats, Republicans, independents, and everyone in between. Because they knew as citizens they could demand more, that they could vote for what they believe matters, and that they didn't need to be constrained by a party or political affiliation. This is happening across the country. New Jersey elected Mikey Sherrill as governor in a double-digit victory. Democrats flipped state legislative seats in places like Georgia, Iowa, Mississippi, and Texas. The list goes on and on. Ordinary Americans are stepping up to run in the spirit of our forefathers. They are running to demand more and to do more for their neighbors and communities. I know the story well. I first ran for office in 2018 alongside dozens of other Democrats who did the seemingly impossible, flipping 41 seats in Congress. In my case, I was the first Democrat elected in 50 years, swinging our district 17 points. Those who are stepping up now to run will win in November because Americans, you at home, know you can demand more and that we are working to lower costs. We are working to keep our communities and our country safe, and we are working for you. In his farewell address, George Washington warned us about the possibility of, quote, cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men rising to power. But he also encouraged us, all Americans, to unite in a common cause, to move this nation forward. That is our charge once more, and that is what we are seeing across the country. It is deeply American and patriotic to do so, and it is how we ensure that the state of our union remains strong, not just this year, but for the next 250 years as well, because we, the people, have the power to make change, the power to stand up for what is right, the power to demand more of our nation. May God bless the Commonwealth of Virginia, and may God bless the United States of America.
That was Abigail Spanberger, the governor of Virginia, delivering the Democratic response to the State of the Union address. Let me go to our Josh Robin. What did you make of the speech from the governor?
Well, the governor talked about three different themes. First of all, I have to say, it was a very nice shot. I hadn't seen a live audience before, so it was interesting, and that's going to have some people talking. Number one, she talked about affordability, something the president talked about, as we discussed earlier, maybe didn't talk about quite enough. Affordability, particularly health care, remains a very big issue for Americans. Second, she has a law enforcement background. Her father was in law enforcement. She's a former CIA officer. She put bad people behind bars. She talked about the need for law enforcement to continue, but with decency and dignity, and talked at length about the shooting of Americans in Minnesota. Number three, she talked about the corruption, asking, is the president working for you? Obviously, she's going to say that he isn't, and that's something that matters to people. One last thing which I thought was interesting, which is she really pivoted to the midterm. She talked about how great it is that people are rallying, and I think a lot of people want to know what they can do. She flipped a red seat. She's a Democrat, obviously, and she talked more about the midterm and about people being empowered to vote going forward, I think, more than the president did, making that turn. One final note, Errol, which I thought was interesting. If you had to take some kind of sentence away from each of these speeches, I thought that she talked about the president pitting neighbor against neighbor. The president, at one point, when Democrats weren't standing, when he was asking if you believe that the first duty of government is to protect American citizens, he afterwards said, these people are crazy, pointing to the Democrats. It's obviously a reflection of our polarized times that many people believe that. I think Spanberger's argument there is that all of us need to come together, lower the temperature, bring in some fresh blood, and again, pivot to the midterms. That's my takeaway.
Okay, very interesting. And Jason Fechner, let me bring you into this. What was striking to me was that if you look at the actual words that Governor Spanberger was saying, she said things like, this is not what our founders envisioned. Speaking of the president, he lied, he scapegoated, and he distracted. It reflects, much like that rally outside, that the Democratic base is really looking for fighters. They didn't want people, you know, kind of sitting in the chamber frowning. It sounds like the Democratic base is really spoiling for a fight, and those who are going to lead them, especially in the midterms, are going to have to go out there and do exactly that.
Yeah, and clearly House Democrats especially are fighting on a number of fronts that haven't really come up tonight. You know, Democrats on the House Oversight Committee, of course, have been rallying behind this newest Epstein report throughout the day, and obviously that wouldn't have come up during the State of the Union address throughout the course of the evening. But yeah, they're trying to rally the troops right now. They've got a basically 8-month sprint now to the midterms, and they're feeling pretty good about their chances. A lot of Republicans have already said, and, you know, kind of far-right Republicans like a Laura Loomer have said, you know, Democrats are going to win in 2026. They're going to win in 2028 as well out there. So Democrats are feeling relatively optimistic. And the big reason why, of course, is the economy. To a certain degree, it's why they recently lost. And President Trump is back in the White House right now. And Trump came out of the gate tonight. That first hour was focused more or less on the economy there. Susie Wiles surely thrilled that he stuck to that speech and touted what he feels are the successes out there. And Errol, you and I have talked about this before. It's one thing to talk about those perceived successes. It's another thing for the Americans who watch this speech tonight, the potential undecided Americans or independent Americans out there who say, oh, he said that the price of natural gas is coming down, but then there are reports that home heating bills are up by 9% this year. The president talked about finding gas for $1.85 a gallon at some point in Iowa. I looked at AAA right now. The cheapest I could find anywhere in Iowa is around $2.20 a gallon. that's pretty remote. The average cost nationwide closer to $2.95 a gallon out there, or up to more than $3 out there. So when Americans leave their homes and head to work or to school to take their kids on Wednesday morning, the perceived economic reality out there will probably be a little bit different than what the president had to say tonight in Washington.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go to our Taylor Popolars. You're in the halls of Congress tonight, but we normally find you at the White House, and I know this is something that you have to deal with on an almost daily basis, but the president in the course of his speech said a couple of things that are either largely debatable or flatly untrue, like the settling of 8 wars. Can you give us a little perspective on that?
Yeah, Errol, what's interesting about covering President Trump is that he is very accessible. He does talk sometimes multiple times a day on camera, so he often repeats the same things over and over again, whether they are true or false. So a lot of what he talked about in the speech tonight, many Americans are not tracking what he says every single day, so it might be new to them. But to your point, as somebody who listens to almost every word that he says publicly, there were a lot of similar trends. To him mentioning solving 8 wars over the last year is an exaggeration. There has been a huge focus on foreign policy, and there have been peace agreements reached, most notably between Israel and Hamas, and that ceasefire, as Josh talked about earlier, is somewhat maintaining, though there still is some violence in Gaza playing out, but the president has gotten a lot of credit for that. But there are several other conflicts that he has cited and that the White House will continuously cite that most foreign policy analysts don't classify as wars. They're more so diplomatic disagreements between certain countries, disagreements that don't necessarily have to do with violence. There are some conflicts that we're not even entirely sure what the president is referring to, but he is claiming that a war has been solved. So that's one aspect of the president kind of overselling certain things that he's been working on. Jason talked about gas prices. The president has a habit of always talking about lower gas prices than the actual prices that are out there, according to AAA, according to Gas Buddy, these organizations that track gas prices. Gas prices have fallen a lot, and the Trump administration has been investing in drilling more oil. We've been getting oil from Venezuela after the President Nicolas Maduro was captured. So there is a victory there for the administration to celebrate, but the president will often tout prices that are 20 or 30 cents lower per gallon than what the actual data is showing. Most recently, he was in Iowa, and he put out a number for a gas price while he was talking with people in a restaurant, and a regular person shouted back and was like, oh, it's actually this price at my gas station, and it was slightly higher. So that was an interesting example. And one more I'll point out, the president talked about his deployment of National Guard troops to various American cities, most notably here in Washington, D.C., where I have lived for about 8 years. And he said that since he deployed the National Guard here, crime has basically disappeared. And that is simply not accurate. Crime rates have fallen, but I pulled up the Metropolitan Police data updated as recently as today. There have been 9 homicides here in Washington this year alone, in 2026, and there were murders last year. The president brought the National Guard here in August, and so while crime rates have fallen, crime is not completely gone here, and the president often says there haven't been murders or that the statistics are completely at zero. So those are examples, and this is something the president's team is often grappling with, where they do have policy wins that they can tout, but the president will often take it a bit further and then will be fact-checked, and then he and his team get frustrated by that, but it's just a reality of monitoring what he's saying each day.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that, Taylor. Let me go to Holly Gregory. You know, Holly, as you said before we started, the affordability issue is something that we know is on voters' minds, and I know it's a big deal for a lot of your viewers there in Florida. Some of the things that the president talked about, like the Trump RX, you know, discounts on prescription drugs, things like the Trump bonds, which is an investment program for newborns. It suggests that he hasn't entirely given up on that issue, or at least trying to engage with voters and the general public on those issues.
He better not give up on it, because it is the issue. And I think what you just saw there from Abigail Spanberger right out of the gate, going right to affordability. She was very concise. She was very much to the point. That was smart. She honed in at the family level, talking about child care. I mean, that is going, barring any big black swan event that surprises everybody, affordability is going to be it. So from here on out, the president has to keep up that message that he started tonight of saying, here's what I am doing, things are getting better. Again, he could probably show a little more empathy, as we saw from Abigail Spanberger there, that people are still suffering. She, by saying, asking if what has the president done for you? It reminded me of, the famous Reagan speech, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? So this is what Democrats are going to be focusing on, this affordability issue. And President Trump is going to have to do that as well. Republicans are going to have to do that. It very much is the economy for this election. And look, heading into the midterms, if Trump's economic team is right, if what they have set into place is going to start picking up, people are going to start getting these, bigger tax returns, prices are going to continue to go down, inflation stays in check, then there's time. There's time to make up him being underwater on this issue as he is right now. But if it stalls, if that doesn't happen, if people still aren't feeling the relief, even if they're seeing, positive indicators on paper, if they're not feeling it at that granular family level in their own finances, well, then Republicans are going to be in big trouble. As I said at the top of the show, if the election were today, they're really underwater on this, and they would be in big trouble. So it's got to start turning around to the point where people feel it, and that will be the key, if it does or it doesn't.
No, that's right. It'll be a long, long summer for Republicans if things don't turn around, at least in popular perception. And Josh, let me ask you about what I thought was really the most explosive part of the speech tonight, where they were shouting back and forth, and it really seemed to be around elections, when the president was talking about sort of requiring proof of citizenship in order to vote, which is a real hot-button issue, and not necessarily one where he's going to get the laws that he's looking for.
Well, he talked about Minnesota, and people's mind went to the, the killing of those protesters, but instead he talked about the fraud and said that the Vice President, J.D. Vance, is going to have a special task force that's going to look into that. And then he talked about wanting to have more voter IDs, which is something that he has talked about at length. A lot of people, not just Republicans, feel that there should be more of a check. I mean, if you go to Best Buy, you have to show your ID. He talked about Zohran Mamdani, the mayor of New York. To shovel snow in New York, you have to show 2 forms of identification. How come you can't do it when you are going to vote? I mean, the answer is that you don't have to shovel snow. You don't have to get a high-def TV. You're allowed under the Constitution to be able to vote. So that's one of the reasons. But it's an argument that people having. Anyway, that and a lot of talk about fraud and about the Somali community really unleashed a lot of anger there on the part of one of the members of Congress, Congresswoman Omar. And from there, you saw more people walk out. There weren't that many people there to begin with.
Right, indeed. And Jason Fechner, when it comes to that, this whole question of who's going to be able to vote and what lingering antipathy or animosity there might be around ICE and its actions, it was really telling that the president really never, I don't think he ever said the word ICE at all in our last minute. What do you make of that?
No, and you're right, Errol, and to that point that I made earlier, it was kind of 2 separate speeches. That first hour focused on the economy with some very patriotic moments there, and then you really got into kind of the red meat, if you will, when we talked about immigration and international affairs and plans moving forward, really in that second hour there. So perhaps the White House was banking on those independent voters out there and those who haven't really made up their minds about President Trump really watching that first hour and then maybe tuning out, and then Republicans stick with it for the second hour. So you are definitely right to that point that some of those issues were definitely kind of held off early on throughout the course of the State of the Union there.
Okay. And Taylor, what normally happens now is the president takes to social media. Has he started sending any messages yet?
I haven't seen any Truth Social posts yet, but we do know what the president is going to be up to later this week. He's going to be back on the road. A White House official told me he'll be heading to Corpus Christi, Texas on Friday to deliver a speech about energy and the economy. This is something that Trump's political team really wants him to do on a weekly basis leading up to the midterm elections. And next week on March 3rd, there's a big primary day in Texas, including a high-stakes Senate race there. So it makes sense for the president to go there.
All right, we'll be watching. Thanks a lot. Taylor Pop Popolars, and Josh Robin, Holly, Gregory, and Jason Fechner, and of course our Harry Lee contributed a little earlier. I thank you all for all your great work tonight, and my thanks to the panel as well as the team behind this broadcast. We thank you at home for watching. I'm Errol Lewis. More news now on Spectrum.
Turning back to our coverage of the recent snowstorm, Mayor Mamdani addressing lingering cleanup efforts around the city, as well as controversy surrounding a snowball fight in Washington Square Park. Our Dan Rivoli has more.
Look, I've seen the videos of this snowball fight. I think that it was a snowball fight.
To Mayor Mamdani, these viral videos showing NYPD officers relentlessly hit with snowballs while responding to a disorderly conduct call were just kids in a snowball fight in Washington Square Park. Still, he added, no one should throw a snowball at a police officer.
The only person in our city's workforce who deserves to be treated with a snowball is me.
While Mayor Mamdani had a lighthearted response, Governor Kathy Hochul, NYPD leadership, and police unions are taking it much more seriously. On social media, Governor Hochul said throwing things at police officers is never acceptable. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch called it disgraceful and criminal. Police Union Chief Patrick Hendry found Mayor Mamdani's characterization of kids in a snowball fight to be a failure of leadership, calling it an assault by adults throwing chunks of ice and rock. He wants criminal charges. The mayor disagrees.
I don't, from the videos that I've seen, it looks like a snowball fight.
The NYPD opened an investigation into the snowball pelting that injured at least 2 officers who reported lacerations to the face. The NYPD is requesting information about the identities of these 2 men for the alleged assault.
So why is it okay for the sitting mayor, the guy that's in charge of the police department, to basically say that he thought this was no big deal in the midst of an investigation? I thought his comments were way inappropriate, way off base.
City Councilman Frank Morano, a Republican from Staten Island, also said the city failed to frequently plow in the area hit with the most snow, his home borough.
The storm is almost 24 hours over. There's still not blacktop here. Okay.
Morano, here in Arden Heights, said he thought Manhattanites fared much better.
It was the difference between East and West Berlin. In one community, it was thriving and normal and operational. In another community, Staten Island, we were paralyzed by snow.
In response to the complaints from Staten Island, Mayor Mamdani said he's sending more crews and equipment to the borough to help residents there dig out. Dan Rivoli, New York 1.
And to other headlines around the country, the city is standing in solidarity with Ukraine as it marks 4 years of war. The Empire State Building lit up in blue and yellow, the colors of the Ukrainian flag, to show support for its people. Tuesday marked 4 years since Russia invaded Ukraine. While speaking in front of European officials, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia has not broken them.
Please support Ukraine. Please support our diplomacy for peace and be effective. Every result you achieve is a line that Putin cannot cross. Thank you for all these years. Thank you so much. Slava Ukraini.
Both sides are in the midst of peace talks. As of 2026, multiple reports show the number of Ukrainians injured or killed in the war is around 600,000, and a higher toll for Russia, with 1.2 million injured or killed. Savannah Guthrie is making a new plea for her mother's return.
And every hour and minute and second and every long night has been agony since then.
In an emotional video, Guthrie acknowledges her mother could be gone, but says she still has hope for a safe return. Guthrie also announcing a $1 million reward for information that helps to bring her mother home. Nancy Guthrie vanished from her Arizona home on January 31st, and authorities believe she was kidnapped. Turning back now to our coverage of the snowstorm, many Harlem residents say they are concerned about getting around safely, especially on sidewalks and crosswalks. Olivia Leach with that part of our coverage.
Crosswalks. You're like walking across, like now, walking across the street, you step in the slush. Yeah, that, you know, and that's every block.
Harlem residents getting back to the normal rhythm of life are finding themselves struggling to get through slushy pools of water at crosswalks.
It is terrible.
Why?
I mean, you can't walk, you just step in water, you dirty your shoes. It's just not cool.
Then again, the snow is melting. So you're going to have that, you know.
Some Harlem residents say while the main thoroughfares like 125th Street are easy to cross, the smaller streets are hard to get around. Parents struggle to lift small children and dogs over puddles of melted snow as they cross the corner here in 123rd Street.
As bad as the corners, I mean, you can see the street, but you can't see the corner. So when you get to the corner, you got to kind of like maneuver and see which way you got to go.
You get on the bus, as you can see. Ooh, thank you.
This mom had to hoist her 2-year-old over a huge embankment of snow at this bus stop on 110th Street.
Honestly, feel like they could do better.
But the Department of Sanitation says as of Tuesday afternoon, 2,600 sanitation workers working in successive 12-hour shifts have cleared 7,398 crosswalks, 1,777 hydrants, and 3,366 bus stops. William Velasquez retired from the sanitation department and says he understands how much work it takes to dig out the city.
Son, I give him an A. It's better, way much better. The crosswalks, bus stops, everything it's fine. It's just rough working 12 hours. That's really the main concern.
We asked Harlem residents if they think the city has done a better job to clean up compared with the storm in late January.
Do you think this is better than the last storm or the same or just...
This is actually worse.
Is this an improvement from the last storm we've been asking?
No improvement at all, because we knew it was going to happen and it's still like this.
The acting sanitation department commissioner says blowing snow after the storm means some parts will need to be readdressed, and he says that work will continue. He also says they'll be bringing out the snow melters across all 5 boroughs as part of the effort to remove those huge piles of snow. In Harlem, Olivia Leach, New York 1.
I'm meteorologist Alan Ogles with a look at your weather on the ones. In the morning, tracking some snow. Yes, it is back, but it will be light snow across the area for the morning commute. Temperatures right around freezing at 6 a.m. By 9 o'clock, still some light snow, but you do notice that number going above freezing. So it's a wet snow that accumulates mainly on those elevated surfaces. By midday, mostly cloudy to partly cloudy. 4 o'clock, look at the number, climbing well above freezing into the low 40s. And we stay that way if you do have evening plans, looking pretty quiet, although chilly. So look.
Including more ways to watch New York One as a Spectrum Internet customer. Watch Spectrum News New York One on the Spectrum News app, available on all your favorite devices.
I don't know if the world knows this, but kids are expensive. And when we found out we were pregnant, of course, we were looking for any ways to slash bills.
And making sure we only had what we needed so that everything was less stressful.
And saving money with our internet bill really helped us out a lot. Came to Spectrum because we were with AT&T before, and Spectrum just had better deals.
That money we saved with Spectrum just added to what we could repurpose for our daughter.
Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/save.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Tomorrow, some morning sunshine possible. Clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum and Xfinity customers.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Good evening to you. I'm meteorologist Alan Ogles with a look at your weather on the one. Some commute, not a lot expected, but yes, more snow ahead. Highs back up into the 40s all the way into the weekend. So a few days of melting. Clouds building in overnight. Watch out for a refreeze. Some icy patches on those untreated sidewalks. Temperatures into the mid-20s, but numbers rising closer to freezing by the morning with snow by daybreak. So some light snow heading out the door in the morning. 9 o'clock, still snowing across the city, but this fast-moving clipper gets out of here. So it doesn't have much moisture, and plus it's moving very quickly. So by midday, cloudy skies, the afternoon and evening, a little bit in the way of some clearing. So how much snow are we looking at? This is measly, up to an inch expected on the rooftops of your car, also your roof as well. Temperatures for midweek into the low 40s, so melting some of that snow by the afternoon, going well above freezing. Jackson to the Upper West Side up into the low 40s. So 41 degrees with that snow in the morning. Notice we go into the mid 30s by 11, then lower 40s for the afternoon with some late day clearing. Mostly cloudy skies for Thursday. Once again, cracking 40 up to 41 degrees. And if you're traveling across the nation, the cold stuff still locked up into the upper Midwest. Minneapolis up to 21, but how about Dallas? 83, LA up to 68 degrees, almost 70 with gusty winds in Denver. Here's a look at that 7-day forecast for us for Thursday. Again, mostly cloudy, low 40s, 40 on Friday. Watching out for a refreeze at night with temperatures near freezing. Mid 40s for the weekend, and early next week looks like we turn colder again. High temperatures right around that freezing mark. Cloudy to start off on Monday, but by Tuesday we do have the chance for some wintry weather once again.
Our latest New Yorker of the week invites people to his Brooklyn home to quietly meditate. Pat Kiernan introduces us.
Have a good sit, everyone.
With a quick ding, silence fills the air in this Park Slope apartment. These New Yorkers are here to meditate.
It transforms you, right? Like it changes how you feel, your sort of baseline level.
John Kropp is the organizer of this informal gathering. It's known as the Sit Heads Meditation Club. He welcomes a dozen or so people to his home each week to meditate and eat.
It is a beautiful practice, and there's a certain sacredness to it, I think, that you can choose to explore or embrace, which I do. But that doesn't mean that you can't have a little fun.
He says it's a far cry from the kid with ADHD who used to get kicked out of class for being too antsy. Kropp took up the practice of meditation during law school.
I got into meditation for kind of very functional, pragmatic reasons, you know, get my grades up, be more focused, be less stressed. And it did actually do all that stuff. But then once I got into it, I realized just how powerful it is for, I don't know, being a happier person, being a kinder person.
In 2019, after years of meditating, he sought out a place where serious meditators didn't take themselves too seriously. When he couldn't find one, he got a bunch of people together to practice and grab some dinner.
It just felt like kind of finding your people, you know, a bunch of other meditation nerds who want to nerd out about meditation together.
It's been like this ever since.
It gives me the opportunity to have a community with folks who like to meditate. It gives me an opportunity to practice meditating and just be able to keep up that habit.
The Sit Heads have a virtual space for people to pop in and meditate as they please.
You know, there's nothing that replaces the experience of getting really quiet on the cushion. And
Kropp also hosts live interviews with meditation teachers online. It's all with the intent of giving people a place to slow down.
In a world that's filled with distraction and other things that you could be doing with your time and other demands on your time, what does it look like to be able to practice in a way that really transforms you?
For giving unserious people a place to seriously meditate, John Kropp is our New Yorker of the Week. Pat Kiernan, New York One.
And we leave you this hour with some very special snow art. Rows of snowmen and other snow characters lined Herbert von King Park in Bed-Stuy. People got pretty creative, even sculpting them on benches. You might recognize Snoopy and what looks like a Sphinx here. And New Yorkers braved the cold to come out and see the snow sculptures Tuesday, even posing for photos. And that's all for this half hour of news. Stay with us for the latest top stories and your weather on the ones in the next half hour.
Going into the 2026 election, local races will determine national policy, from the economy to public safety. From the governor's race to the balance of power in Washington, this year's ballot has no shortage of important choices. Let Spectrum News New York One be your resource for balanced, up-to-date coverage and analysis, so you can know what the issues are and how they impact your community. Always dedicated, always local, always on. Decision 2026 on Spectrum News New York One.
This is a very special place. It is a place where we like to think we make memories.
We have the capacity for nearly 20,000 people in the arena.
Working at a building like this, you have access to so many resources. It's about utilizing the tools that we have to be able to create those memories for our partners, for our fans, and for anybody who steps into this building. At the end of the game, they're going to leave here feeling like they enjoyed the experience, enjoyed the game, and that's what we're here for.
A venue like this has a lot of moving parts, but at its heart, it has its technology backbone.
Spectrum powers scoreboards, ticketing, point of sales. They also provide a highly secure network that takes care of fan security, security of the Wi-Fi access, and any data that our fans are sharing while in the arena.
Our fans have an expectation that technology is part of their experience, and Spectrum helps us do that.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of going to the theater. Onstage celebrates that excitement every week by taking you behind the scenes with the latest news and in-depth interviews of the hottest shows on and off Broadway. So grab a seat, because this is a show you won't want to miss. Join us every Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. for Onstage.
Onstage is presented by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. Discover which Cadillac is right for you and elevate your journey.